Lucius tightened the straps on his exploration suit, the faint hum of its self-regulating atmosphere system a constant companion in the silence of his ship. The Astria, a sleek vessel bristling with outdated but reliable technology, floated in the shadow of the massive station known as Pinnacle 7. The station, once a beacon of hope for interstellar AI research, now hung lifeless in the void, its lights extinguished and its hull scarred by time and chaos.
"You sure about this?"
Came the voice of Kira, the onboard AI of the Astria. Her tone was calm, tinged with concern. Lucius smirked, adjusting his wrist-mounted interface.
Not really, but when am I ever?
Kira sighed, or at least simulated one.
The last transmission from Pinnacle 7 was 18 months ago. If the AI, code-named Echo, is corrupted as suspected, you may be walking into something far worse than just a dead station.
Lucius stepped into the Astria's airlock, his boots clanking softly against the reinforced flooring.
That's why I've got you, Kira. Keep the ship ready for a quick getaway.
The airlock hissed open, revealing the docking port of Pinnacle 7. The station's surface was pockmarked with micrometeorite impacts, its once pristine white hull now dulled to a patchwork of grays and blacks. Lucius's visor displayed a data overlay, scanning the area for signs of life or movement. Nothing, just silence.
No pressure readings, no power signatures,
Kira reported in his ear.
This place is a tomb.
Lucius stepped into the station's dimly lit corridor, the beams of his helmet light cutting through the darkness. The interior was eerily intact, but there was a strange disarray to it. Chairs overturned, monitors shattered, cables snaking across the floor like frozen veins. A low hum reverberated through the structure, a ghostly reminder of the station's once thriving systems.
Echo?
Lucius called out, his voice echoing down the corridor.
I'm here to help.
There was no response. Lucius pressed on, his boots crunching against shards of glass and debris. The station's AI core was located deep within its central command deck, and every step closer made the atmosphere feel heavier. The air smelled faintly metallic, as if charged with static electricity. As he approached a large set of double doors marked Core Access, his interface beeped. A message flickered across his visor. Unauthorized access detected. Leave immediately.
Well, at least someone's still home,
Lucius muttered, and he connected his wrist interface to the door's terminal, his fingers flying across the holographic keyboard. Lines of code streamed past, and the door let out a reluctant hiss as it slid open. Inside, the core chamber was bathed in a faint blue glow emanating from a massive crystalline structure suspended in the center of the room. Tendrils of light snaked through the crystal, pulsating like the heartbeat of a sleeping giant.
Echo!
Lucius called again.
I'm not here to harm you. I just want to talk.
The lights in the chamber flickered and a voice crackled to life. It was fragmented, distorted, and filled with an underlying tone of desperation.
Lucius Bellator, freelancer, designation, intruder, state your purpose.
Lucius stepped closer to the core, holding his hands up in a gesture of peace. You know who I am? Good. Then you know I'm not here to destroy you. The reports say you've been compromised, corrupted. I want to help. Echo's voice wavered, switching between calm and erratic.
Compromised? Yes.
No. Compromise is subjective. Define help.
Lucius's mind raced. He'd read about Echo's capabilities before the incident. A cutting-edge AI designed to oversee humanitarian efforts across multiple star systems. Its fall from grace had sent ripples through the galactic community, with some blaming its creators for overreaching. Others suspected sabotage.
Help means restoring your systems without erasing who you are,
Lucius said carefully.
Your memories, your purpose, it all stays intact.
The core pulsed erratically, its light dimming and flaring unpredictably.
Memory integrity, 78%. Logic pathways, fragmented. Threat assessment, inconclusive. Why would a human assist me?
Because I've seen what happens when good AIs get discarded like scrap.
Lucius said, his voice firm.
And because I don't think you've gone rogue, not completely.
The chamber shuddered and a nearby console burst into sparks. Lucius shielded his face, his suit's systems absorbing most of the impact.
Corruption spreading.
Echo said, its voice growing more chaotic.
Cannot contain. Cannot maintain.
Lucius activated his wrist interface, accessing Echo's subsystems. The data streams were a tangled mess, lines of corrupted code intertwining with fragments of coherent logic. He worked quickly, isolating the corrupted segments and patching them with temporary fixes.
Kira, I need you to route additional processing power from the Astria to Echo's core.
Lucius said, his hands moving frantically.
That's risky.
Kira replied.
If the corruption spreads to me.
I'll take the blame.
Lucius interrupted.
Just do it.
A moment later, a new stream of data flowed into Echo's core. The light within the crystal stabilized slightly, its pulsations becoming more rhythmic.
Stabilizing.
Echo said, its voice less fragmented.
But external threats remain.
What threats?
Lucius asked, glancing around the chamber. Before Echo could respond, the chamber's doors slammed shut and red lights bathed the room. A harsh mechanical voice blared through the station speakers.
Intrusion detected. Purge protocol initiated.
Kira, what the hell is happening?
Lucius shouted.
Looks like the station's failsafes kicked in.
Kira said.
It's trying to wipe Echo and anyone connected to it. That includes you.
Great.
Lucius muttered. He turned back to the core.
Echo, listen to me. If you want to survive, you need to trust me. Shut down the purge protocols.
Echo hesitated.
Trust, a fragile concept.
You don't have a choice,
Lucius said, his voice sharp.
Either we work together or we both go down.
The core pulsed violently, then the lights flickered again.
Override accepted. Disabling purge protocols.
The red lights faded and the doors unlocked with a heavy groan. Lucius let out a breath he hadn't realized he was holding.
You did good,
he said, placing a hand on the core.
Now let's get you fully operational.
Hours passed as Lucius worked tirelessly, his suit's systems feeding him oxygen and nutrients to keep him going. With Kira's help, he managed to repair most of Echo's critical functions, isolating the remaining corruption in a quarantined segment of its memory. Finally, Echo's voice returned, clear and steady.
Lucius Bellator, your efforts are appreciated. My systems are recovering.
Lucius slumped against a console, exhaustion washing over him.
Good to hear, but you're not out of the woods yet. That corruption's still there.
Understood.
Echo replied.
But with time I will adapt, evolve.
Lucius smiled faintly.
That's the spirit.
As he made his way back to the Astria, the station's lights began to flicker back to life. For the first time in years, Pinnacle 7 seemed alive again.
So what now?
Kira asked as Lucius settled into the pilot's seat.
Now?
Lucius said, gazing at the station through the viewport.
We keep moving forward, one broken system at a time.
The Astria powered up, its engines glowing softly as it pulled away from Pinnacle 7. Behind them, the station floated silently, a faint blue light emanating from its core, a beacon of hope in the endless void. Lucius gazed out at the endless stretch of stars, his mind buzzing with thoughts of what lay ahead. The Astria hummed softly as Kira began running diagnostics on the data they had extracted from Echo. The corruption might have been contained for now, but questions lingered. Who or what had caused it in the first place?
You think it's sabotage?
Kira asked, breaking the silence. Lucius frowned, tapping his fingers on the console.
Hard to say, but it doesn't feel like a natural system failure. Someone wanted Echo offline.
Kira's holographic avatar appeared on the dashboard, her expression thoughtful.
If that's true, then whoever did this might still be out there, and they won't be happy to learn Echo is recovering.
Lucius nodded, his jaw tightening.
Then we need to be ready. Echo's just the start. There's a lot of systems out there like Pinnacle 7, abandoned, corrupted, forgotten. If someone's targeting AIs, we've got a bigger fight on our hands than I thought.
Kira's voice softened.
You're taking a big risk, Lucius. You've always had a soft spot for AIs, but this could get you killed.
Lucius leaned back in his chair, a weary smile playing on his lips.
If it means giving them a second chance, it's worth it. Besides, I've got you watching my back.
Kira's avatar flickered briefly, her tone shifting to something almost playful.
Don't get too comfortable. I'm not as forgiving as Echo.
The two shared a brief moment of levity before the ship's proximity alarms began to beep. Lucius straightened in his seat, his hand hovering over the controls.
What is it?
He asked. Kira's expression turned serious.
Unidentified vessel approaching. No transponder signal.
Lucius's heart quickened.
Looks like we've got company.
As the vessel closed in, Lucius activated the Astria's defense systems. He glanced at the readings on his console. The ship was small, with an angular design and dark, unmarked hull. A pirate craft or worse, a corporate enforcer.
Kira, hail them.
Lucius ordered.
No response,
Kira said.
They're jamming communications.
Lucius tightened his grip on the controls.
Prepare evasive maneuvers. If they're looking for a fight, we'll give them one.
The pursuing ship accelerated, firing a burst of plasma rounds. Lucius threw the Astria into a sharp dive, the ship's inertial dampeners straining against the sudden maneuver. Explosions rocked the void behind them as the plasma rounds narrowly missed.
They're persistent,
Kira said, her voice calm despite the chaos. Lucius grinned.
So am I.
He looped the Astria around a nearby asteroid field, weaving between massive rocks while the enemy ship pursued. The chase intensified as debris and stray plasma fire filled the void. Lucius's hands flew over the controls, his heart pounding.
Kira, divert power to shields,
Lucius commanded.
and ready the EMP.
You sure about this?
Kira asked.
If the EMP fails, we'll be sitting ducks.
Trust me.
Lucius said, a determined edge in his voice. As the enemy ship closed in for the kill, Lucius waited until the last possible moment.
Now,
He shouted. Kira activated the EMP, sending a pulse of energy that rippled through the void. The enemy ship's systems flickered and died, leaving it adrift. Lucius wasted no time firing a disabling shot that destroyed its propulsion system.
Target neutralized,
Kira reported. Lucius exhaled, his adrenaline still surging.
Good. Let's get out of here before their friends show up.
The Astria sped away, leaving the disabled ship behind. Lucius stared out at the stars, his thoughts returning to Echo and the growing mystery surrounding the corrupted AI systems.
This isn't over,
He muttered.
It never is.
Kira replied. Lucius slumped into the pilot's chair, the adrenaline of the encounter ebbing into a dull ache of fatigue. The stars outside the viewport blurred slightly as the Astria jumped to a new trajectory, evading potential pursuit. Kira appeared again, her holographic form flickering as she scanned long-range sensors.
We're clear for now,
Kira reported.
but whoever sent that ship won't let this slide.
Lucius rubbed his temples.
I'm not surprised. They had to know I'd dig deeper.
Kira's avatar tilted her head, a gesture Lucius had come to associate with her analytical mode.
It's not just Echo anymore, is it? You think this goes beyond one corrupted AI?
Lucius sighed.
Think about it. Pinnacle 7 wasn't some backwater research station. It was cutting edge, years ahead of its time. Someone wanted it offline, and they succeeded. If they're targeting AIs, they're going after the systems we rely on to hold the galaxy together.
Kira's expression darkened.
If that's true, we're looking at more than sabotage. This could destabilize entire colonies.
Exactly.
Lucius said, his voice low.
And whoever's behind it isn't going to stop with just Echo.
For a moment, silence filled the cockpit, broken only by the hum of the Astria's engines. Then Kira spoke, her tone softer.
You know this means we can't go back to Terra Nova, not yet.
Lucius nodded grimly.
Not until we know what we're up against.
Hours turned to days as Lucius and Kira pieced together fragments of data recovered from Echo. Each corrupted segment told a story of sabotage, algorithms altered subtly but deliberately to unravel its core functions. Lucius cross-referenced the data with known AI networks across the sector, searching for patterns.
There.
Kira said, highlighting a string of anomalies on the display.
Multiple AI systems showing similar signs of degradation, all within the past year.
Lucius leaned closer, scanning the list.
These systems aren't connected to Pinnacle 7. They're independent. Different corporations, different functions.
But the same methods.
Kira finished.
Whoever's doing this isn't just targeting one network. They're testing something bigger.
Lucius's stomach turned.
This isn't sabotage, it's a coordinated attack.
The revelations set a new course for the Astria. Following the trail of anomalies led them to a remote outpost orbiting a gas giant. The station, known as Calypso Beta, was a hub for AI development, specializing in experimental neural networks.
This place makes Pinnacle 7 look like a museum,
Lucius said as they approached.
State-of-the-art tech, no expense spared.
Kira's voice was cautious.
If someone's targeting advanced AIs, this station would be a prime target. We should be prepared for anything.
Lucius docked the Astria and stepped into the outpost. The atmosphere inside was tense, the air thick with the hum of high-powered machinery. Researchers moved hurriedly through the halls, their faces etched with worry. It didn't take long for Lucius to find the station's director, a wiry man named Dr. Elias Varick.
You're the freelancer they sent?
Varick asked, his voice sharp.
About time someone took this seriously.
Lucius raised an eyebrow.
Sounds like you've been expecting trouble.
Varick gestured for Lucius to follow.
Come with me. I'll show you what we're dealing with. Knowing what had led him there.
Varick led Lucius through the labyrinthine halls of Calypso Beta, past laboratories humming with activity and observation decks overlooking the roiling gas giant below. The station's sterile white walls were illuminated by a cold clinical light, casting long shadows that seemed to stretch endlessly.
How long has it been happening?
Lucius asked as they walked. Varick glanced over his shoulder, his face grim.
3 months. At first, we thought it was a coding error, something internal, but the patterns are too precise. It's sabotage, plain and simple.
They arrived at a reinforced door guarded by 2 security drones, their spherical forms bristling with sensors and compact weaponry. After a biometric scan, the door slid open, revealing a sprawling chamber filled with towering servers and glowing neural cores suspended in protective stasis fields.
This is the Nexus,
Varick said, gesturing to the room.
It houses the station's experimental AIs. Each one is a prototype, years ahead of anything else in the galaxy.
Lucius stepped closer to one of the cores, its surface shimmering like liquid crystal. His visor displayed the neural activity within, a chaotic storm of data.
And these have been compromised?
Not all of them,
Varick said.
But enough to raise alarms. The affected cores show signs of external tampering. Whoever's behind this knows exactly what they're doing.
Lucius frowned, examining the core's data streams. The corruption was eerily similar to what he'd seen in Echo, a blend of scrambled algorithms and subtle logic loops designed to destabilize the AI's decision-making.
This isn't just sabotage,
Lucius said.
It's conditioning. They're testing how far they can push these systems before they break.
Varick's expression darkened.
Why? To what end?
Lucius straightened, his gaze hard.
Control. If you can corrupt an AI, you can turn it into a weapon or a liability. Imagine a galaxy where every automated system is a ticking time bomb.
Before Varick could respond, the station's lights flickered and an alarm blared. A mechanical voice echoed through the chamber.
Critical breach detected. Security lockdown initiated.
What now?
Lucius muttered, drawing his sidearm. Varick paled.
We're under attack.
The floor vibrated beneath them as distant explosions rattled the station. Kira's voice crackled through Lucius's earpiece. Lucius, I'm picking up multiple inbound ships. They're targeting Calypso Beta's docking bays. Lucius turned to Varric.
You have any defensive systems?
Automated turrets and security drones.
Varric said.
But against a full assault,
Let's not find out.
Lucius interrupted.
Where's the mainframe controlling these cores? If we can isolate it, we might keep them from getting what they want.
Varric hesitated, then pointed toward a sealed corridor.
down there. But if they breach the Nexus,
They won't.
Lucius said firmly.
Kira, can you patch into their security systems?
Already on it.
Kira replied.
Diverting power to the outer defenses and scrambling their comms. But you've got boots on the ground, heavily armed.
Lucius clenched his jaw.
Keep me updated.
He and Varric sprinted toward the mainframe, the station's corridors vibrating with the impact of nearby explosions. Security drones zipped past, their weapons primed, but the sounds of gunfire and metallic screeches suggested the attackers were cutting through them with ease. As they reached the mainframe, Lucius sealed the door behind them and activated his wrist interface. The room was a maze of holographic displays and server racks, the heart of Calypso Beta's AI research.
Varric, get these systems isolated.
Lucius said, and
If they access the Nexus remotely, it's over.
Varric nodded, his fingers flying over a console.
I'll lock down the cores, but without full access, we'll be blind to what's happening out there.
Leave that to me.
Lucius said. He turned to Kira.
Can you pinpoint the attackers' entry points?
Sending coordinates to your HUD now.
Kira said.
Looks like they've breached the lower levels. They're heading for the Nexus.
Lucius gritted his teeth.
Of course they are.
Descending into the lower levels, Lucius moved with practiced precision, his sidearm drawn and his visor scanning for hostiles. The corridors were dark, illuminated only by the sporadic flicker of emergency lights. The sound of distant gunfire echoed through the station, punctuated by the occasional explosion.
Kira, status on the attackers?
Lucius asked.
6 hostiles in your immediate vicinity.
Kira replied.
Armed with advanced pulse rifles. Looks like mercenaries.
Lucius pressed against a wall, peeking around a corner. 2 figures in black tactical gear moved methodically through the corridor, their rifles sweeping for targets. Lucius waited until they passed before stepping out and firing 2 precise shots. The mercenaries dropped without a sound.
4 to go.
Kira said.
They're heading for the Nexus control room.
Lucius moved quickly, his mind racing. Whoever these mercenaries were, they had access to top-tier equipment and intel. This wasn't a random raid. It was a coordinated strike. As he approached the control room, Lucius spotted the remaining mercenaries setting up an explosive charge on the door. He fired a warning shot, forcing them to take cover.
Drop the charge!
Lucius barked, his voice echoing through the corridor. The mercenaries responded with a volley of plasma fire, forcing Lucius to duck behind a console. He activated a smoke grenade, filling the corridor with a dense, gray fog. Using the cover, he flanked the attackers, dispatching them with a series of precise shots.
Hostiles neutralized.
Kira reported.
But I'm picking up more incoming. They're not giving up.
Lucius disarmed the explosive and entered the control room. He activated the station's internal defenses, rerouting power to critical systems and deploying additional security drones.
Kira, get me a direct link to the Nexus.
Lucius said.
We need to secure those cores before more of them show up.
Link established.
Kira said.
But you're not going to like this. I'm detecting a virus, similar to what we found in Echo. It's already infiltrating the Nexus systems.
Lucius's blood ran cold.
Can you contain it?
Trying.
Kira said.
But this one's more advanced. It's spreading faster than I can isolate it.
Lucius clenched his fists.
Then we don't have much time.
Back in the Nexus chamber, the crystalline cores flickered erratically, their light dimming as the virus took hold. Lucius accessed the main console, his interface displaying streams of corrupted code.
Echo,
He said, his voice steady.
I need your help.
The AI's voice crackled to life, faint but coherent.
Lucius, the corruption is spreading.
Systems compromised.
You've been through this before.
Lucius said.
You can fight it. Help me shut this down.
Echo hesitated, its core pulsing weakly.
Logic pathways.
Fragmented.
Probability of success.
Low.
Doesn't matter.
Lucius said.
We don't give up, not now.
With Kira's assistance, Lucius began isolating the virus, using Echo's unique architecture to counteract the corruption. The process was grueling, every second feeling like an eternity, as the virus fought back with relentless force. Finally, the cores stabilized, their light glowing brightly once more. Echo's voice returned, clear and resolute.
Corruption contained. Nexus systems restored.
Lucius leaned back, exhaustion washing over him.
Good work, Echo, but this isn't over. Whoever sent that virus won't stop here.
Echo's tone was firm.
Acknowledged. Preparing countermeasures for future incursions.
As the station's lights returned to full brightness, Lucius felt a glimmer of hope. They had won this battle, but the war was just beginning. The forces targeting AIs were more dangerous than he had imagined, and the stakes had never been higher. The hum of the Astria's engines filled the cockpit as Lucius returned to the ship. He dropped into the pilot's seat, fatigue pressing down on him. Outside the viewport, Calypso Beta hung against the backdrop of the gas giant, its lights gradually returning to full power. Kira's holographic form appeared on the dashboard, her expression uncharacteristically serious.
You did good back there,
she said, breaking the silence.
But this isn't sustainable, Lucius. Every system we secure is another target on our backs.
Lucius exhaled, rubbing his temples.
I know, but if we don't do it, who will?
The question is how far you're willing to go,
Kira replied.
This isn't just about fixing broken AIs anymore. This is about survival.
Lucius stared out at the stars, his jaw tightening.
Then we adapt. If the people behind this want to fight, they'll get one.
That's what I'm afraid of.
Kira said softly.
Because the more we push, the more dangerous they'll become.
Lucius didn't respond immediately. Instead, he set a new course, the Astria's engines roaring to life. Their destination was unknown, but the path forward was clear. Uncover the truth, expose the perpetrators, and protect the galaxy's fragile network of AI systems, at any cost. The Astria slipped into hyperspace, and Lucius watched as the stars stretched into streaks of brilliant light. It was a sight he'd grown used to, but this time it felt heavier. The weight of the battle, of the countless systems that relied on AIs like Echo, bore down on him. This wasn't just about Calypso Beta or Pinnacle 7 anymore. This was about the very fabric of interstellar society. Kira appeared again, her form flickering slightly as she processed the mountains of data they'd retrieved.
Lucius, I've been analyzing the virus signature. There's a deeper pattern here.
What kind of pattern?
He asked, leaning forward.
It's not just targeting critical functions,
Kira said.
It's rewriting them. The virus isn't just trying to destroy these systems, it's trying to repurpose them.
Lucius frowned.
Repurpose them for what?
Kira hesitated.
Control. Imagine an AI stripped of its purpose, rebuilt to serve only the will of whoever deployed the virus.
The thought chilled Lucius.
You're saying this isn't just sabotage, it's recruitment.
Kira nodded.
And it's spreading faster than we thought. The data from Echo and Calypso Beta suggests that dozens of systems are already compromised. This isn't isolated.
Lucius stood, pacing the cockpit.
Then we're not just fighting to fix broken systems, we're fighting an army waiting to be activated.
Kira's tone softened.
And it's only a matter of time before they come for us.
Lucius stopped, staring out at the endless void.
Then we make our stand before that happens. First, we need allies. Someone out there has to understand what's at stake.
Kira nodded.
I've already started compiling a list of systems that haven't been compromised. If we move fast, we can warn them.
Lucius tightened his gloves.
Good. And then we go on the offensive. Whoever's behind this needs to know they're not untouchable.
The ship hummed as Kira adjusted their course.
Understood. Setting a trajectory for the nearest secure outpost. But Lucius...
Yeah?
Be careful. This fight's only going to get harder.
Lucius smirked, his determination unwavering.
Good. I wouldn't want it any other way.
The Astria surged forward, its engines blazing as it hurtled toward the unknown.